This is Denu Maru, and I'm here live to talk to you all about different options when you are a non-citizen married to a citizen, okay? And, one of the things that I have encountered in over 10 years of practice is that, immigration cases take a very, very long time. But immigration cases take a very, very long time, especially if you're doing I-130. Some of you might also be doing a 601A. Some of you may be doing a 485. Some of you may be permanent residents. Some of you may be waiting for your priority dates. And so this is the reality. The reality is that the marriage-based green card process is a waiting game. Some of it is filing, some of it is gathering paperwork, but a lot of it is waiting. And so what happens if, while you're waiting for your marriage-based process, you notice that your marriage is not working out? What happens if you think your spouse will not support you in going forward with the interview? Or what happens if your spouse is holding this marriage-based process over your head? So I'm going to talk about things that, we don't really like to talk about publicly often, but they're very, very important because life is complicated. And that is about when marriages are not perfect. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, what is a perfect marriage? There's no such thing. And that's exactly right. There is no such thing as a perfect marriage, but some marriages have issues about boundaries, issues concerning boundaries where one spouse, maybe the U.S. citizen spouse, may be saying to the non-citizen spouse, you're less than because you're not a citizen, because I can have you deported, because you're dependent on me for your status. And they may be using this process as a way to have their hand in control, to control their non-citizen spouse. And in those kinds of cases, it's very important for the non-citizen spouse to recognize that that is a form of control, that is a form of abuse, and if that is happening, then you are entitled to having to be able to file your petition by yourself. You don't have to rely on a U.S. citizen spouse if that spouse is not cooperative, if that spouse is not, enthusiastic in helping you become a green card holder. Because, if you're in a loving relationship, if you're in a healthy, loving relationship, both partners should want the same things. Both partners should be enthusiastic about making sure that the person who doesn't have a green card gets a green card. If that's not happening, if one of you is kind of having second thoughts about the relationship, then really dig deep and figure out, are there control issues? Are there issues that could potentially, it does not have to be physical violence. This is the biggest, misunderstanding that I've ever heard. Does not have to be physical violence. Does not even have to be, anything connected with a police report. Does not have to be incredibly ugly or anything like that. But if there are control issues and you feel like, marriage-based is not cutting it, or there will be problems down the line, or I'm going to have to really, really plead to get my spouse to cooperate, then think about the alternatives. And these alternatives, they do not hurt your spouse. They do not require that your spouse have a police report file. They don't go on your spouse's record. So there is no harm to your U.S. citizen spouse. But based on this, you actually can adjust your status in the United States on your own. In fact, if you're somebody who needs a waiver, you don't need to file a 601 if you qualify for an abuse-based application. So if you think there's even a small chance, and I'm not even talking about, a clear-cut case, because let us decide. We have experience with these kinds of cases. Let us decide if you think there's a chance that you may be eligible for filing an abuse-based application, then let us figure out if you qualify or if you have a strong enough case. Do not count yourself out. If you think that their marriage-based process is really trying, it's difficult, your spouse may not be cooperating, or your spouse may be cooperating, but you're really not looking at the process, to have to go to your home country to file from there. You may have other options, and call us and we will screen you to make sure you're eligible for these other options. But I want to make sure you know that there are options that exist. Now, when you file a I-360 instead of an I-130, which is the abuse-based application, when you file an abuse-based application, you can do it even if you have a problematic immigration history, even if you have prior deportations, even if you're in removal proceedings. So a lot more of your past violations may be waived if you qualify, okay? And in some cases, it doesn't matter. I mean, not in some cases, it really does not matter if you're married. You can stay married. You can stay married to your spouse. You don't have to depend on them for a green card. You can also, if you are divorced, as long as you've divorced in the last 2 years, you may still be eligible, okay? And so I want, anyone listening, if they have even the slightest curiosity about whether you qualify, you're married to either a permanent resident or a citizen, or, believe it or not, you have adult citizen children who are 21 or older, and, you think you don't qualify, well, you may be wrong, and you may qualify for an I-360. So definitely do not hesitate if you're one of those people, and give us a call. Our phone number is 312-854-7065. We have experience in working on these very complicated cases. We can help you identify solutions to these common kinds of problems. Another kind of problem that we see very often is somebody who did get a green card approved through their spouse, but then after getting the green card approved and they got a conditional green card, and then they had to separate or divorce after getting their conditional green card before they got their conditions removed. Again, that does not mean you have to force yourself to stay married. It does not mean you have to beg and plead your spouse to help you remove conditions. You can do these things on your own. All you have to show is that you got married for the right reasons. Marriage may not work out. That doesn't mean that your green card doesn't have to work out. Okay? Life is complicated. Relationships are complicated. No such thing as a perfect marriage. We do not judge anybody who comes to us with problems. So definitely, if you know anybody, if it's you, if you know anybody who's facing these issues, feel free to call us. Or, if you need help in filing waivers, one of the things my office does extremely well is that we understand psychology as well as law. So when it comes to filing things like complicated cases, waivers of unlawful presence, waivers of crimes that require extreme hardship, proof of extreme hardship, or domestic abuse related cases that require proving abuse where there was not a police report, where there was not any physical violence, that requires an understanding of the psychology of the person. It requires a very keen understanding of the law, and we have both, and we can help you. Okay, so don't lose hope. Don't feel, if you're in that situation, don't be desperate. Definitely reach out. Reach out for help. 312-854-7065. Thank you.